thank you for coming today. There's so much I could tell you, but what I'm going to try and do is tell you a little bit. Are we all good? Can you all hear me? We good?
Let's go a little higher.
A little bit higher? Is that better? Now that's better, yes. About a month ago, the war broke out. Before that, I was thoroughly retired. I enjoy skiing at Nakiska at least once a week, riding my bike, and I did pray to the Lord a few months ago saying, God, I'm enjoying this, but if there's anything you have, I'm available. And the war broke out. I'm retired from being a pastor and most of my adult life an international worker, which we used to call missionaries. We started out in Congo for 8 years, got evacuated out of there. We're in Poland for 14 years and Germany for 3 at Black Forest Academy. So that's in a nutshell where we've been. Because we were in Poland for 14 years, as soon as this war broke out, we started receiving calls on Messenger and whatnot from our people. We stay regular contact with them anyhow, but they were being flooded by refugees. If you've watched the news, you've seen little glimpses of it. And I know it's difficult for us as we stand here today and we can look out there at the Rocky Mountains and life is so normal. Our biggest headache is the price of gas and groceries. But I've been in another world for the past 2 weeks. And so I was asked to go and be a liaison from our Alliance churches here in Canada with our partner churches in Poland. Rather than try and just tell you all kinds of information this morning, I want to just tell you about a few individuals, because when we talk about there being over 2 million refugees in Poland, over 3.5 million overall, and it's going to go up to 5 or 6 million, it's hard to remember that each one has a name. Anyhow, am I going to get through this? I don't know. It's okay. So I want to just introduce you to some of the people. I'm a little bit tired because I'm jet lagged. This morning I woke up at 4 and I was going to get this stuff all prepared. I didn't get at it till 8 because I was on the phone with Germany, Poland, and Holland coordinating getting people moved. Anyhow, so what I want to do, let's just go to the pictures and then maybe that will be good. Okay, so let's see if this will work. So first of all, here's, I need to tell you that we have 2 couples, alliance couples from the US, Christian Missionary Alliance, IWs, international workers over in Germany. While I was over there, one of them who knows me from when I was his pastor in Germany contacted me. We have a system where they're coming over from Northeast Germany to Warsaw to pick up refugees. They're bringing van loads of food that we take to our warehouse in Warsaw for distribution, and then they pick up refugees to take them back to Germany to help them get resettled. And here they are just meeting the first family that they had contact with and they were taken back. I'm just showing these pictures because I want you to know about these individuals. That's me, obviously, and that's Nikita. He's 16 years old. He has autism. He's on the spectrum, and he's just freaking out. They tried to get him to go to Germany on a train. He wouldn't get on another train again, having come out of the Ukraine. That's his mother beside him. Her name is Oksana, Oskana, and she's a dentist. His father, her husband, is back in Kharkov, and I asked her this morning, she texted me this morning in Russian, and we have a translator on her phone, and I said, how is your husband? She said, they're being bombed. So these are the people that we're working with. This is what her city looks like. She sent me these pictures this morning. This is the university where she studied. She's a dentist. And this is where life was going on normal. so this is what they're coming from, and we're trying to care for them. All right. I want to switch gears a little bit now. And by the way, please pray for Uskana. And if anybody are prayer warriors, my wife's a prayer warrior. She prays way more than I do. And if any of you are like her, would you just remember to pray for Nikita, that big kid, because he's having a hard time. He can't stop talking about the war, is what she told me this morning. And they need to get settled, and it's going to take quite a while. They're in a little village in Germany, and our people there are there to help them. Okay, switch gears a little bit now. Our churches, you'll notice that on the news you haven't seen any refugee camp. Okay, there's 2 million refugees and rising in Poland right now, and there's no camp, big UN camp or Red Cross camp, and it's because the Polish people and the churches are literally just spontaneously, since it started, going. I have friends, and I know all kinds of people. They just, when it broke out, they didn't get an announcement on Facebook or the news or anything. They just got in their car, drove to the border, held up a sign, said, I have 4 places and a place to stay in Warsaw. And they take them back. Now that has had to improve a little bit better, and it's gotten a little bit more secure because we had problems with human trafficking happening, because there's just thousands and thousands of people coming. But the point is, our churches, they're just, well, I'm going to show you what they're doing. So this church here, this is probably one of our oldest churches and our partner churches before the war, 1921 I think it was. And I want to show this video. Okay, I'm going to tell you who this is. This is Leszek. He's one of the pastors. Interesting guy. Used to be a priest. He's a pastor at our church now. He has his PhD in counseling, smarter than a whip, and he's down there serving right now in this video in the little dining room area where they have. I'm going to let him just sort of tell the story, and then I'm going to show you a few pictures. Okay, so hi everybody back in Canada. I'm here with Pastor Leszek. We're at the Puławska Church, which is about the oldest church we have here in Warsaw with our partner churches. I just asked him if he would tell us what's going on here as far as helping our refugee friends. So, Leszek, you were telling me that we have how many people upstairs that sleep here?
Yes, every day we have 50 people.
50 altogether?
50, yes, yes.
Okay, so 30 na górze upstairs.
Yes, upstairs.
Upstairs about 30, and then about 20.
Yes, and for one night, every night we have 20 people who stay in the queue before consulate. Okay,
so we're standing right now in like a little dining area, and there's tables and chairs set up in here. I'll post a picture of it when there's no people in here. But they tear this down every night and put mattresses down.
Yeah.
And upstairs you've got a photocopier, a Xero, right?
Yes, we have 2 Xero.
2 photocopies,
yes,
yeah.
Free of course, and tea and coffee and meal for these people it's every day we have 200, 300 people from the street.
So 200 or 300 people are coming here to photocopy their documents.
Yeah.
So they can go to their consulate, which is just down the street.
Exactly, yeah.
Okay. And do you have children here too?
Yes, of course. We have especially women with children.
Okay.
Yes.
Almost everybody's women and children.
Sometimes it's a big family with men, but it's
not
very rare.
Yeah. And I saw you have a room there with clothes and shoes and everything. Wow. Well, how can the people in Canada pray for the church and for you? What can they pray? Jakie prośby?
To be stronger.
To be strong.
To have nadежда.
To have light, to have hope.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Because it's a longer.
This is going to go on.
It's
a marathon. It's not a sprint. Anyways, this is just one of our churches that is doing this, and they're all involved. The offices upstairs are full of people.
Yeah.
And so just continue to pray, and pray that this war would come to an end. Okay. Thank you, Leszek.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Hello from Warsaw.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Now, I'll just go back here. This is the church where this is all happening that he's talking about. And I'm going to hopefully, yeah, oh, there we go. Okay, the dining room that we were standing in, this is it here. Like he said, they're feeding about 60 people a day. And a lot of you folks I know have given financially. Some of that money that you have given, we're using to help these guys because they can't feed 60 people a day all day long. And so that's one of the uses for it. And just another shot there. That's Beata. She's one of our executive assistant for the president of the denomination there. And she was the one that was filming for me. And they have food out just for folks to snack on. And so they're providing all this for our refugees. These are some of the places they're sleeping. These are offices and Sunday school classes. This is their sanctuary where they normally have church. I don't know what they're doing now on Sunday because they've got people, like you can see, sleeping in there. Another office, baby change table. Almost all of the refugees are women and children because the men aren't allowed to come out if they're over the age of 60 unless they have more than 2 children. If they have 3 or more children, they want the men to come out because the women can't handle evacuating, etc., with 3 kids in tow. And so that's why I think you heard him say, oh, well, there's some larger families that have a man. That's what he's talking about. They have clothing distribution. These folks have literally just come out with nothing. Like to get on the train, they've got a little wee bag, and the train, it's just thousands of people trying to get on it. And so folks have just been bringing in clothing, and we have volunteers coming in, sorting it. And this is just one church, okay? People have brought in strollers. You heard him talk about the photocopying. Just down the street from this church building is the Ukrainian consulate. And there's just huge lineups there every day because people having fled have come out with missing certain documents that they need to have replaced in order to get registered. And they have to register when they come and to get health services and that kind of thing. And so there's just this is the view every day. And they need to get photocopies done. And so the church recognized that need, and they put up the sign, and it says Xero, which means photocopier. And they have turned the entranceway of the church into this kind of waiting area, and they have chairs set out, and that photocopier is just going. When I met with the pastor, the senior pastor of this church, just a few days ago before I left, he said they're putting through now about 400 to 500 people a day, and it was a week and a half since they started, and they've done over 30,000 copies. And it's just, so this is a very big felt need that we're meeting, and they put out a nice little food table. People can snack. They have a computer there. If they have to locate things online, they can do it and print it off. Okay, we're going to switch gears now. Okay, so that was the church. That was one example. And I can tell you, I don't have time to tell you all of the ones. Okay, we're outfitting 10 churches with furniture like beds and just the basic things with the funds that have come in. We have 10 churches in different parts of Poland, buildings that are going to be doing that same thing. They have the space, but they didn't have anywhere to put them. They need mattresses and things. But let me tell you about this family, and I want you to be praying for these guys. Interesting story here. Stories are good, so let me tell you a story. The guy down in the corner there with the red jacket on the left, his name is Piotr. When Diane and I came home from Poland and settled in Ottawa, we planted a church there, and for 6 months I went door to door every Sunday morning from 9:30 in the morning till about noon doing a survey because I was trying to connect with people that don't go to church. And that's how we planted the church. They call it the church for people that don't go to church. And that church is still going. But anyways, Piotr, I knocked on his door. he was living in Ottawa, him and his wife Ella, and I told him I was doing the survey, and he said, well, come on in. And he invited me in. I sat on his couch, and I could hear his accent. And as soon as I heard his accent, I said to him in Polish, "Czy pan mówi po polsku?" I said, "Do you speak Polish?" And he looked at me strange. Anyway, long story short, Piotr and Ella gave their lives to the Lord. Piotr got baptized there in Ottawa, and 2 years ago they moved back to Poland. Okay, and they're living in a place called Ostrowiec, and so there he is. About 2 weeks ago, Piotr, he knew I was in Poland. He calls me up and he says, "Bill, we have a big problem." I said, "What is it?" He said, "We've got an older couple, the guy sitting in the blue jacket and his wife standing beside him, their daughter in the gray jacket, and the daughter's son and their grandson, the little boy there. Okay, they're on it, just the four of them. They're on a train coming to the Polish border. Their son, the guy with the hat on and the orange collar at the back there, is on an airplane flying here from Toronto. We have to get him from Warsaw down to Lublin, where Piotr was going to meet him, and they're going to go to the train station and wait. No idea when the train's going to come in. It has to go blackout because they don't want to get bombed, and had to take a circuitous route, so they have no idea how long it took them 30 hours to get to the border, okay? The father in the blues there is very sick. He has lymphoma. We got them, and so this was the kind of thing we were doing, coordinating. Piotr would call me. I got someone in Warsaw, take them to the train station, get them down there, get them all there. They sit there. Finally, at 1 in the morning, the train comes in. He drives them to Lublin. We just said, we've got to find somewhere fast, so we just put them in a hotel. We can't put all of them in hotels. It's too expensive. But these circumstances, we just said, we got to do something and figure out how to pay for it later. And so, anyways, put them in there. They got COVID. So they've been locked up in that hotel now. They'll be getting out. They're past being contagious now, but public health won't let them out of the hotel until Tuesday next week. And we had it all lined up that they were going to go to Germany. You know, the first picture I showed you with the young women saying hello to the refugees, they were going to come over, pick them up, along with others, take them to Germany, settle them there. This morning, I get a call from Germany. "Bill, we cannot have these people here. They need medical care that we don't have." So here I am trying to get ready for this today, and I get this call. And so I said, okay, and they're just young couples, great young couples. Man, wish I could tell you all about them. Anyways, I said, just relax, take your pastor hat off, put your logical hat on. I'll figure it out. And because they're trying to figure out how to get 13 other people from Warsaw while this is going on. So that's going on. So hung up the phone, got on the phone to a contact in Holland, and said, hey, look, I told you what I got here. This is what we need. We need medical care. He goes to work, hunting around, call up to Warsaw, talk to Sophie, who's from Crimea, but works in one of our churches there as a coordinator for refugees and housing. I said, Sophie, I got someone looking in Holland. Can you look in Switzerland? Whoever comes up with the place first, that's what we'll go with. Okay, she starts looking. Anyways, long story short, we've got it all worked out with them. They're going to be flying because it's an 18 to 20-hour drive, and we got a really good deal with Wizz Air, which is a discounter, and they'll fly them for free if they only have carry-on luggage. So this morning I called the son, Vitaly. I said, Vitaly, how much luggage have you got? Well, we got 3 big suitcases. Okay, what's in them? Have you got food in them? Yes. Get rid of the food. You don't need the food. What else have you got in? We got winter coats. Get rid of the winter coats. You don't need the winter coats. They're going to give you new ones. And just had this kind of conversation. And he's really upset. Like he's just not doing well. But I had to talk to him very firmly and said, look, well, we don't have carry-on suitcases. I said, the pastor in Lublin, I'll call him, called him, Marek, go buy 5 suitcases, take them over there, carry-on bags. So you're going to do that. Vitaly calls me back an hour later. My mother is so upset because my father, she's afraid he's going to die on the airplane. I said, Vitaly, your dad's really sick, and he is going to die. I hope he doesn't die on the trip, but we're doing the best we can. This is a war, and they have a nursing home to receive your mom and dad at, together with you, and we have a place for your sister. And I had to just really talk firm with the guy, okay, but gently, and I prayed with him, and I said, do you pray? He said, yes. I said, you need to just say, Jesus, I need your help, okay? This is a terrible, terrible thing, okay, that they're going through. But anyways, I tell you that story because I want you to pray between now and Tuesday when we're going to get them taken to Warsaw, put on an airplane, 2-hour ride to Eindhoven. And when they get to Eindhoven, our Dutch churches there are standing on their heads to receive them and help them. We're doing other things besides just this. We have in Warsaw 2 convention centers. One has 3,500 people in it. The other has 10 times that. Has capacity for 35,000. I don't think it has 35,000 in it yet, probably closer to 20. I don't have pictures of these places, but they're just picture, it's a huge convention hall. And they do trade shows and that kind of thing. Well, it's just, you know, picture a room like this room we're in here, double the size of it, and put black cots that are literally this far apart, okay? Solid from here to the end with little wee aisles to get through, beds and blankets and stuff of every shape and size, people's stuff that they've hauled with them in their little backpacks, and, you know, and there's all kinds of kids, all right? Well, one of the things that we're doing is we're partnering with a company called Nie Nudno, which means not bored. And it's a company that already exists. It's owned and operated by a very strong Christian who was actually one of our pastors before he had this company. And they do educational stuff with kids, math and robotics and all kinds of kids' education stuff. Really good. Anyways, they're partnering with us. And these facilities, which are run by the city has requisitioned them because this is the overflow. Like the house, Warsaw is saturated. Our churches and our houses are full. So these are all the people that don't fit in and kind of like supposed to be a transit place. And so we're trying to send people, as many as we can, to West. So what we've done is in each one, we've put in these, we're calling them islands of refuge. And it's a room that would be as wide as this is here and about that square again. And with the funds that you guys have given, we've gone to IKEA and we've bought, you know, all those little kids' chairs and tables and stuff. It cost about $5,000 US, 6,500 bucks Canadian. And we just outfit that whole thing. And then this education company, they bring in their workers, plus we add volunteers to it. And these kids come in there, and it's like, it's literally an island of refuge. Because where they are, the walls are black, the beds are black, it's industrial lights, and it's crowded, men and women and everything. And so these kids, and it's the beginning of their healing. Kids need to play, having gone through the trauma that they've gone through. And so, so far we've got, I think it's 6 set up, and we're probably going to go up as many as 10. Like that one that's 35,000 people, we're going to have about 10 in there. And one that we've set up is for adolescents, for teenagers. So that's one of the things that we're doing. I mentioned the food distribution. Just, you know, Western Europe is sending food in, but we're also having to buy some things, mattresses and furniture for our churches that need to house people. And by the way, that children's thing I told you about, all that furniture, you may be wondering if you think like I do, well, what are you going to do with all that when this is all over? We're putting together a plan to do therapy with these kids through this company they're already in 300 schools before the war started. And so we're going to be setting up places all over the place using this equipment. Interesting, we had 12 people show up from Israel to work in one of the children's centers. And they're used to working with trauma, these guys that came from Israel. And there's 12 of them. And when they told me there's 12 of them, I said, hell, like one from each tribe. They knew what I was talking about. Anyways, so we got food distribution. The churches were outfitting. The children's centers. What am I forgetting? There's other things that are happening that don't come under just one big project. I think those are the main things that are coming to my mind right now. We can't do everything, okay? And there's 1,000 people doing little things like we are, but it's just overwhelming. It's like you heard in the video. It's like it's a marathon. This is not over. And they're going to continue to need our support and our prayer. But God's going to use this. I think I'll just give you a prayer request, and then I'll let you ask questions. Pray for me and for some leaders that I'm working with. We're trying to put together a strategy to get beyond phase 1, which is the physical needs. You know, Jesus, do you remember in John chapter 9 when Jesus encountered the blind man and he healed him? And then the whole chapter goes on. You know, he comes in and he heals this blind man, and then the whole chapter, this blind man, he's investigated by the Pharisees, and they call his parents in, and Jesus is kind of off. But then right at the end, Jesus comes and he finds them, and he tells them who he is. And he finds that this Jesus is the Savior, he's the Messiah. And he finds what he really needs. When Jesus first encountered him, Jesus already knew what his biggest need was. It wasn't to be healed physically, okay? It was to be healed spiritually and to be connected to God. These folks are coming in and we're meeting their physical needs, but we have to go beyond that to things like how to help them through the trauma, practical things, how to get their kids in school, how to get language learning. They have to learn another language, how to find housing, how to find a job, and how to find hope through a relationship through Christ that doesn't change the circumstances around you necessarily, but you don't go through it alone, and it gives you eternal life. We need to find that way, and I can't go into the details right now, but we're working to find a way to literally reach 100 million people. Okay, so just pray that we would be able to make that happen. The other thing, and I mean 100 million people, just a little picture, and then you can ask the questions. This whole thing about meeting people's physical needs. I was at that huge convention center, 35,000 people, and when I came out, it was like 3 o'clock, and I was really, really hungry. And I had to be really, really hungry to go into a McDonald's, because I don't like McDonald's. But I went into McDonald's because there was nothing else around. And I'm standing there, and this McDonald's is right next to this convention center. And as I'm standing there, there's a woman standing in front of me, and she's struggling with the language because she's Ukrainian. And the staff were being really good, but I could tell, you know, it didn't happen real quick. And she's got a whole slug of kids with her, and they're getting something to eat. And when it came time to pay, I went in, told the Polish lady, I said, I'm paying for her. And she looked at me like, what? And the Ukrainian lady said, what? I said, no, I'm paying, I'll pay. And I put my card down, and she dakuya in Russian. Thank you. She started to cry. And I thought, if I only had Russian, I could tell her that God loves her and sees her and knows her name, and he wants to help her. But I couldn't. All I could do was go, no. I went like this. And she said, I know. That's what we have to do with those millions of people right now who are open to the gospel. Because I just paid for those crummy hamburgers for her at McDonald's, just that little gesture, she was wide open to hearing the truth. I know she was, okay? This is what we have going on, and we need to strike while the iron is hot. We cannot wait. So anyways, please pray for me. We're working on that, and if you have any questions, I'll take them. Problems that don't have a solution. Yeah. Well, just trying to, well, I'll tell you one of the problems. Poland cannot handle all of these refugees. Like, they just physically can't. Like, Warsaw's 1 million people. Well, you've just had 2 million people added. That's 2 more Warsaws. It's so hard for these folks. Like, we've got places available for them over in Germany and Holland and whatnot, and we're coordinating transportation for them, and so are others. But they don't want to move, a lot of them, because their husband's still back there in the Ukraine, and they feel like I'm at least closer to the border. And it's just to go further west, and to what? Just that dilemma that not just us, we're all over there facing, just that they would be able to be dispersed. And you know, any way we look at it, this is not going to be like an American movie with a happy ending, okay? It's not. But, you know, Jesus said that you're going to have trouble and you're going to have wars. And like I said, it's hard for us when we sit here and we have our beautiful mountains and our lives here. But this world's broken. And Jesus came on a rescue mission. A lot of us Canadians don't feel like, not us here, but as Canadians, we don't feel like we need to be rescued. But we do. And so these guys are way more open to that offer because they're feeling it, that the world is broken. That's a really good question. UN-sized operation. Yes, the way we're doing it, the church is the very best network in the world. I'm convinced of it. We have this huge warehouse, and where it is, that one of our congregations meets downstairs. That's where their church is, and they rent the facility. And it's an old bankrupt company, and it has this massive warehouse. The owner has given us this huge warehouse, and this was just 2 weeks ago. And so the food comes in from various sources, and there's everything in there. There's mattresses, there's sugar, there's all kinds of stuff. How does it get distributed? Well, our churches that are feeding people, and like, let's say a church has 100 families that, well, let's make it more realistic. Let's say they have 30 families that are hosting refugees. Okay, they can feed them for a week or two, but longer than that, it gets to be financially burdensome. So the congregation, the church, comes to our warehouse with a list of, we need this much flour, we need this much of this, and we need so many mattresses. They're given that stuff, they take it back, take it out there, and they distribute it right down to the individual household. And not just churches. There's some organizations, smaller organizations, and it's not just our churches that are coming to us. We've got multiple churches coming, and so that's how we're distributing it. And we're not the only ones, okay? Like, we're doing our part, but like, we're dealing with 2 million people. Samaritan's Purse is over. They've got a field hospital, I forget what city they're in a parking garage. You may have seen their video. And also, they've got 2 medical clinics on the border, because when these folks arrive, they've gone through terrible physical and emotional trauma to get there. So Samaritan's Purse is doing that. And I don't know everything else about them. The UN and the Red Cross, I think, are doing things on the border. I did get a call from the UN, and their focus is mainly in the Ukraine. They're not focusing on the refugee half of it in Poland, which is fine because the folks in the Ukraine need help. To Canada or somewhere? Actually, we're actually looking for families right now. We have two Alliance churches, one in Hinton and one in Fort McMurray, that have contacted us and said they want to bring a family over. And so we're beginning the process of selecting the best match for that. So it's starting already. We've got everything. We got people just got across the border. We've got people that are just getting to Warsaw, and we got people that are somewhere and they thinking about coming to Canada. But the vast majority aren't going to be coming to Canada. But as my wife said, you know, there's a story of the boy going along the beach with all the starfish that have been washed up, and he's picking them up, throwing them back, and some guy comes along and says, well, what are you doing? You can't throw all these starfish back. What difference are you going to make? The boy looks at the starfish and he looks at the guy and he says, well, it's going to make a difference to this one. Throws it out. And that's a little bit what it's like with what we're doing. Yes. When I say we, I'm just the liaison. This is something that's being handled by our department. It's called Justice and Compassion, and Joanne Beach in Toronto is the director. And they've asked me to be the liaison, because anytime you have any kind of a project like this, there's all kinds of accountability structures in place, both for ourselves and for the government. Oh, and I need to just explain one more thing, remind me of it. The way we're handling all the help that we're giving, our partner churches over there have a department. It's called in English, Dobroczyniec. It's called the Good Deeds or Good Works Mission, and it's through them that everything gets done. So you got the denomination. It's just like us here. We've got the C&MA Canada, and we've got Joanne's department that handles this kind of thing. So we're liaison with them. Yes, it is. The best place, if you can either give online to, what is it, cmacan.org. Yeah, Dave's got the link, and or you can, you know, I think you can just write a check out if you want and give it to the church, and they'll get it to them. Yeah. Well, if you like kids, they can use volunteers in those children's centers, and it doesn't matter if you don't speak the language. We've got people I've got people from Youth with the Mission heading over, and I got some guy from somewhere, I can't remember where, heading over. Yeah. As far as people going over to help, though, unless it's something like that children's work, it's more of a hindrance at this point, because you don't have the language, and they have to lead you around, and they're busy. But the prayer, I tell you, is our most powerful weapon, and it really is.
It's probably interesting for them to know that this started with Rock Point, then it went to Calgary,
yeah,
and then it went national.
Yeah, it actually started with Bill saying to his wife, hey, they need money over there for this children's camp where they're hosting refugees. Shall we give them some? And Diane said, well, why don't you ask our family, and then why don't you ask our friends? And then, yeah, someone said, call Joanne in Toronto. And when I told Joanne, she said, yes, let's do it. And on Sunday, I was sitting here, because of COVID, we're new here, and nobody knew us, because, you know, we've all been away. And so we were back in church there a few weeks ago, and I came out here and talked to, what's his name, Gray there, Ron. And Ron Gray, because he handles this kind of stuff. And I said, hey, Ron, I'm Bill. John and I have put together a thing that the Alliance wants to do. And he just wrote it all down, and then I think it went from there. And you guys are amazing, okay? If you go to Rock Point, you go home and look in the mirror and say, I'm amazing, because you are. I mean, seriously, I'm telling the people over there that there's churches that are praying for them and supporting, you know. I sat with a Ukrainian pastor a couple of weeks ago over there, and he had just come out. Some of you might have seen the video. And big guy, Sergey, huge guy. And we just brought him out for 2 or 3 days to catch his breath. And he's back in Kiev, had to go back. Didn't have to go back, but he chose to go back. And yeah, and I asked him, I said, what do you want me to tell the churches in Canada? He said, tell them, thank you for praying. Thank you for praying, and we just appreciate all that they're doing. And yeah, that was a tough meeting with him.
Bill, let me ask you about if you heard anything about Ukrainian Christians. Yesterday, the Alliance World Fellowship that puts us in relationship with our churches in Europe, one of the key directors put a note in a picture that one of our pastors in Mariupol
has been arrested. Yeah. Dmitry, I forget what his last name is. Dmitry is actually a very close friend of Krzysztof Zaremba, who's one of our key pastors in Warsaw. And a week or so ago, Krzysztof called me up and said, Bill, you've got to go to the embassy. They've arrested Dmitry. And anyways, the embassy wasn't able to help. But you've just got to pray that he gets released. They took his passport, took his cell phone, took his wife's passport, left her cell phone. And so far I haven't heard if he's been released. But he's a key pastor over there. Yeah. And they're praying for his release, but they're also, the Poles, his friends, are praying that he would be a witness to his captors. I mean, these guys are different than us. They really are. The Ukrainians and the Poles, the way they react, and they have to hold it together because it's life. Yeah.